I was trying to go live. So I did a webinar yesterday. Well, I tried to do a webinar yesterday. It ended up just being a video because of I'm not as good with technology as I thought I was. So anyway, but the content was really important, especially during these days where stress is a huge issue for so many people, because first of all, changes are stressful. Changes are stressful because our brains are wired. We have neural networks that tighten, and they get really they get strengthened by our everyday routines. So when we're out of our routine, then we tend to feel uncomfortable because it's a physiological response, and that is why change is difficult. So during these big changes that we're dealing with, I have like hair now. A lot of people are stressed. A lot of people are stressed financially. A lot of people are stressed. They're working from home. Their kids are from home and doing school from home. Just a lot of changes and a lot of stress. So what I want to do, I have a presentation. I'm not able to share the screen. If anybody wants it, I will email it to them. So what is neuroplasticity? Basically, neuroplasticity is you have the ability through your thinking to change the structure of your brain. So you can change your brain structure from having a healthy, positive default thinking network, or having a negative one. So you can either have one or you can have the other. You can't have both. One looks like this. Looks like an old, ugly, wiry tree with dead branches. And that is what your brain looks like when you're thinking negative thoughts. The other is a beautiful blossoming tree. I hope you can see it. And you want to have that beautiful blossoming tree. So, wait, I don't like this filter. I don't know how to change it though. Anyway, so if you can kind of visualize that, I know it's just maybe you don't care because it's just inside your brain and it really doesn't bother you, but that, you want to be able to have a beautiful blossoming tree. So let me give you some disturbing statistics. So for the first time in history, the human lifespan is going backwards. People are dying 15 to 25 years younger, and that is because of preventable lifestyle choices. Also, there is research, according to Dr. Caroline Leaf. She says that up to 97% of every single mental health or mental illness is due to your thoughts and your negative thoughts. So that's a pretty big, bold statement. I mean, that's almost that says that we are in control of whether we get whether we have a heart attack, whether it's brought on by us. Now we know that stress lowers the immune system, so obviously you're more susceptible to getting sick. That is a fact. Also, cardiovascular issues are linked to stress. According to the APA, American Psychological Association, there is a lot of evidence going back decades that stress is absolutely linked to mental health issues. Also, according to the American Institute of Stress, there are numerous medical conditions linked to stress. And I cited my sources. You guys can check out the sites. So what does stress have to do with negative thoughts? Well, and that research that I cited, think about what stress would be if you took away your negative thoughts. Would it even exist? Would it even be a bad thing? Because there is such thing as positive stress, It's either called E-stress or U-stress. I can't remember. I remember learning about it in college, but it is healthy. We need stress. So basically, stress without negative thoughts is not harmful. So does that mean that Caroline Leaf's statistics are completely, ridiculous? Because one article I read, they said that it was, who does she think she is, basically saying such a false claim, making such a false claim, and she's a self-proclaimed scientist and blah 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 blah. Well, and he said that it was only 8%. I don't know. If you think outside the box, I think her stuff makes a lot more sense. Also, if you think about, I cited this source, cancer patients. When they have a positive outlook, they are more likely to recover from cancer. Where did I find that? I don't know, but it's not easy to find. So when you have a healthy outlook, you tend to heal. When you are stressed and you're negative and you just give up when you are diagnosed, then you're less likely to recover. So draw your own conclusion. So then I have a diagram of all of the negative things that stress does to your body. It's just, and your brain and every organ. It's just terrible. So again, with the negative default thought network, you can absolutely change it. And let me give you an example of what it is. So how, basically people think it is the norm. Like I've even read, even in school, they said, somebody can tell you 10 good things about yourself, but if you hear one bad thing, that negates all 10. That does not have to be the truth. That is only so if you have a negative default thought network. If you have a healthy, positive thought network, then that one negative thing will just roll off of you. And you absolutely can get that, where you can actually hear 10 negative things and you can let them bounce off of you, and then hear one positive thing and say thank you very much. That's the difference. It doesn't have to be like that, but the way they taught it in school, it was like that's the way it is, and that's just how it is. So, but it's not true. So I don't know. Our minds are way more powerful than we are led to believe. So we're told that we only use 10% of our brains. I don't think that that's true. You can optimize your intellect and brain functioning. Can you be a prisoner of your own thoughts? And do self-fulfilling prophecies really exist? Absolutely they do. They exist in both directions. So you can create your own destiny in a positive way, but also in a negative way. So in a negative way, what that looks like is, I'll give you an example. Somebody who grew up in dysfunction, right? They're used to dysfunction. They're healthy and they're comfortable, not healthy. They are comfortable in dysfunction, and they will only thrive when they are in a dysfunctional environment. So once they get into a normal situation, if they find, maybe they grow up and they have a normal relationship with someone who is healthier. Now remember, side note, see the yellow research that I have posted on my page, There is no such thing as a normal person, but there are such things as dysfunctional versus functional families. So that person from the dysfunctional side, who is so comfortable with living in chaos and drama and dysfunction, will feel so uncomfortable in that situation where they can self-sabotage, and they will tell themselves, this person isn't gonna respect me, they're not gonna like me, they're gonna cheat on me, who knows. And then what happens when you can totally accuse someone of cheating on you constantly? Then often they eventually will, because they're sick and tired of being accused. So you can create your own self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's pretty powerful, but you can change that, and the only way to change that is to get to the root of your issue, and from there you can deal with it, and you can heal, and then you can reverse the damage that has been done. So if you wired in any dysfunctional thought that was wired in as you were growing up, doesn't matter, you can absolutely wire it out. Doesn't matter how old you are, and it takes 3 cycles of 21 days. And the science behind that is, and don't get discouraged because it's 8 weeks. You start feeling better after 4 days if you implement a structured process to deliberately and habitually think positive. There is a 5-step process. I don't think I'll have time to discuss it right now, but just know that it's out there. And where was I going with that? Well, anyway, so you can change your thoughts. So again, neuroplasticity, the Webster definition says, learn to pronunciate. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to form and organize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience or following an injury. In quotes, neuroplasticity offers real hope to everyone from stroke victims to dyslexics. Why don't they mention mental health and trauma? Because honestly, in my opinion, my professional opinion, my personal experience, my research, this is the only form of therapy, besides something else, that actually works, especially for trauma victims, because it gets to the root of your issue, and then it helps you redesign that into a way that you can manage it, where it's not, you don't have your flashbacks anymore. I mean, there's just so many benefits to it. Now, the second one that also works is Emdr Therapy. So the perfect combination for a trauma victim, if they complete this 5-step, 8-week program for neuroplasticity and changing their thoughts and getting to their root cause. If their trauma is so severe, they will have at least developed coping skills so they can go and get EMDR treatment. You can't just walk in and say, I want EMDR. They need to assess you and see how many sessions that you need with that specialist before they perform EMDR on you. So they say that neuroplasticity is an emergent science. That is not true. It's been around for decades. So it's basically that scientists used to think that the brain was fixed. If you had a childhood injury, then no, it could not be repaired. No, the damages were permanent. So you had to compensate for that. There was nothing else. Nowadays, this theory has evolved into realizing that our brains actually adapt, and that through our thought patterns, we have the ability to transition negative to positive, depending on how we choose to think. So, again, the tree. Okay, so the 5-step method. I'm not really going to get into that right now, but I will tell you, I'll quickly summarize it, because yesterday it took me an hour and 45 minutes to get through this presentation, and I don't have that right now. So I will summarize it. I think I have like a quick little summary of it somewhere around here. Okay, well, it's basically, what you do is you gather your thoughts, right? Gather your thoughts. You pay attention to your body and the warning signals, which are emotional warning signals. Those are anything uncomfortable, like depression and anxiety and stress and worry and guilt, shame, anything uncomfortable, you tune into that. It is your body telling you to listen to it. So it is telling you that you are out of equilibrium and you need to not do what we are told to do, which is avoid or mask with medication. We need to instead confront what is going on. Okay? So when you do that, you confront it, then you go to step 2 and you analyze. Analyze, you ask yourself, why am I having this? You respond, and then you repeat. And it might take several different, maybe 30 whys before you actually come to the root cause of your issue. And if you're having difficulty with that step, you have to be super honest with yourself, and you should always, anyway, learn to be honest with yourself. But there's something that you can implement during this step if you're having trouble getting to the root cause, and it's called the multiple perspective advantage. And what that is your brain, our frontal lobes, we have the ability to look outside of ourselves and look at our issues from an outside point of view. So you could look at your issue as if you were, what would you tell your best friend, right? What would you tell your best friend if your best friend was going through a situation like what you're going through? Would you say, oh, you're such a loser, why do you always get yourself into these situations? Or would you be kind, and would you get, honest, constructive criticism, which you should? Then that is the multiple perspective advantage. So remember, what you think about in your brain will grow. So, try to just analyze it and choose to observe what you're thinking from an outside point of view. And then step 3 is when you get to that moment of figuring out what the root cause of that emotion is, and I will transition this to how to cope with and manage stress in a minute. Step 3 is write it down. So you write it down, and the reason for that is because you want, well, first of all, I'm not going to say journaling because I know people hate that. When you write things down, it gives you the ability to get your unconscious. It brings your unconscious into your awareness, okay? But you get the same result as writing it down or journaling as if you're talking to like your best friend or somebody that you trust and somebody that you can be yourself with and be open and honest. It just it basically, what this says is it removes the glue, but I don't like that explanation. It's just it allows you to come to conclusions and to just make connections and look for triggers. And sometimes triggers are people, sometimes triggers are places, or just certain shows, who knows. So that's why you write it down. And then the next step is you revisit that step. And what you're doing is you're looking for patterns. So you're looking for patterns, so you can go to the 5th step. And then you can plan what you're going to tell yourself when this thought occurs again. And it will occur. So if it's your root issue. So let me get my phone, because I'm on my phone. Duh. Well, here's my computer, because I want to give you examples of number 5, because everybody is so different that it's so hard to just vaguely discuss this topic. It's like, if your root issue is you constantly see the negative before you see the positive, then your step number 5, it needs to be the action step, and it will be something that you tell yourself and you have to say it at least 7 times a day, and that's not an arbitrary number. Remember, this is scientifically researched for years. So at least 7 times a day, you will have to then tell yourself every time it comes up, so the negative thought. So you want to quickly change that negative thought into the most positive but believable version of that thought. So if your root issue is, where is the examples? Of course I can't. Okay, so, I have it right here, actually. Oh, hi, Kel. Aw, hi, Kelly. Okay, so I'm constantly remembering my bad choices and continually playing them in my mind. So this is what you do. You say, I choose to stop this movie over and over in my head, and I'm switching the movie off now. And you tell yourself that, and you shut your emotion, and you move on. So it doesn't, this number 5 doesn't have to be a long, dragged on action step. I mean, you could do it in your mind anytime, anywhere. That's it. So, if your problem is, and this seems to be a big one today, I'm constantly going over the injustice that I have suffered. Okay, well, I don't like what she says to say, but that says visualize a tractor driving up down. Okay, let me move on. I don't like that one. All right, I find myself being a people pleaser because I fear that they won't like me. This is what I would say. I would say, screw it. Who cares if people like you? But no, this is what it says. Dr. Caroline Leaf, she says, I will change my perspective to say to myself, this is a good one. The only person I need to please is myself and God. And that is the truth. That, actually, I do like that one. So if you care what other people think of you, absolutely say the only people that matter is my opinion about myself and God. Okay? Another example, if I find my thoughts are cluttered and overwhelmed and chaotically running through my mind, well, when this happens, I will allow only one thought to deal with and then sort the rest out. So I like that one because there's actually an app that I recommend, and it's called the 5-Minute Gratitude app, and it is good for that situation. If you constantly feel overwhelmed, you can either write down, what you're going to do that day. It gives you space for like 3 things, but you have to know what you're capable of. If you're not there, if you are not in a place where you can even do 3 things a day, because I talk to some of my patients and they're not there yet. So I say, maybe one thing a day, or one thing every couple days. But the app, it actually benefits you more in the sense that it gives you, if you use it every single day, it gives you a slot to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. So we all have things that we can be grateful for in our lives, and we need to focus on that. So those are the 5 steps. Quick rundown of the 5 steps. Now, in regards to managing stress, so you need to practice those coping skills, and you need to, if you're unaware of the frequency of negative thoughts, some people are in denial, or they're busy. Denial is a huge defense mechanism, and it's hard to get people to see things when they're in denial. So if you don't even realize that you have negative thoughts, then take the 7-day challenge, and every time, pay attention, tune in. Every time you have a negative thought, write it down for 7 days. You probably won't get through more than a couple days, but try it. And then when you have a negative thought, what you do is you immediately replace it with the most positive version of that thought. So otherwise it grows, and I'm not going to get into that, but it should never stay more than 24 hours. But the best thing to do is just immediately get rid of it. So monitor every thought. So I have some steps on how to build resilience to stress, and I'm going to read them. But first I want to tell you about good stress and bad stress. So there is good stress. Stress is a necessary part of life. You have stress. It just goes hand in hand in life. So you control your physiological reaction to stress by your perception of stress. So if you change your perception of it, then you no longer get that like tight, tense, horrible, response. So what you're going to say to yourself, and this sounds funny, but say it in your way that you speak to yourself. Good, my body's tensing up all over stress. So it's going to help me think more clearly, and it's going to help me, my eyes are so bad. It's going to give me more power to my brain. So then you can have a positive reaction to stress. Okay, so you're going to tell yourself that stress is good because it gives you more clarity and more power to deal with that stress. But you have to believe it, and it is absolutely true. So you don't have to perceive it as a negative. So here are the 8 tips that you can intentionally and deliberately train your mind to deal with stress in a positive way. So you're going to, do those 5 steps that I mentioned earlier. And then after you've dealt with a stressful situation, you're going to analyze your reaction, okay? And it's not in a way that you're going to beat yourself up, make it worse. It's in a way that you can learn how to improve. So you're going to say, how did I react? What were my triggers? What could I have done to handle it better? And then you're going to answer. But like I said, just be careful. Do not say it in a way that it is negative. And, that's the complete opposite of what you're going for. Number 2, practice. So remember, you're building resilience to stress. So you're not going to get it the first time. You're not going to get it the second time. You have to build a resilience. So you have to be patient. And what does it say? Draw on the positives of your last positive experience, not the negative. So when I said analyze it and say, what could you have done better? Don't draw on that. Draw on the positives of what you did well. Number 3, this is a good one. Have realistic expectations about life. Do not have rigid expectations, because you need to be flexible. If you have rigid expectations, then everything's just going to piss you off. So, number 4, utilize your support system. That's why it's so important to have support. It will help you increase your awareness. Tell you, sometimes we, like I said, defense mechanisms, we don't realize what we're doing. Our intentions might be different, but they're coming off not good. Then number 5, oh my gosh, yes, you need to take responsibility for your actions. You're not a victim. A victim mentality is not healthy. If people get so comfortable with being a victim, and they just get comfortable in that state of mind, and they don't realize they absolutely have no control of their lives. They're victims to their circumstances. They have no control. So take responsibility for your actions. Number 6, take care of your physical health. Sleep, eat, drink water, exercise. I should focus on step 6. 7, when dealing with a stressful situation, do not allow others to affect your emotions. My mom says, put my hands down and my legs down. Okay, so there's actually a meme. No, not a meme. Well, I made it into a meme. It's a quote. And it's a quote by Warren Buffett, who I don't particularly love, but his quote is good, and I will botch it if I don't get the actual quote. You know what? Just don't let others have control over your emotions, because then you're giving others control of your life, and you're giving them power over you, and that's not healthy, and it's not going to help you. Okay, number 8. Where is number 8? Okay, this is true. Our brains are designed to take breaks. We're designed to actually zone out every 90 to 200 minutes and just daydream and just, think. There's actually a study. There was a study at, maybe it was Harvard or Princeton, one of those, Ivy League schools, and they put adults in a room from 18 to 75, I think, age, and they had nothing to do, no technology, just sit in a room with your thoughts. And you can either do that, or you can electrocute yourself and buzz yourself or something. And it was they were so uncomfortable, and the adults were just as bad as the younger people, so it's not just young people. They could not be alone with their thoughts. They would rather, and I'm saying electrocute themselves, but it was buzz themselves with something. I have to find this study and post it. It was interesting, but you could challenge yourself and see, can you be alone with your thoughts? When you're driving, can you shut the music off, shut everything off, and just be alone with your thoughts? You're supposed to. It actually helps reboot your mind, and you need that. This one, my mom always tells me this too. Laughter. So, watch a funny movie. I was just telling my client today about Napoleon Dynamite. She's never seen it before, and it's really funny. So, okay. Another thing about building resilience to stress is, wait, hold on. Let me just make sure I get this doing better towards the end of the reason. Very important to believe. Okay. What you believe is what okay, you place your own limitations on yourself. So if you believe that you can't, then you can't. So take I can't out of your vocabulary. Never think that you can't, because it will limit you. So if you believe this, that you can get healthy, you can manage your stress, you can actually conquer your thoughts and be emotionally balanced, then you can. And it's possible. There's studies out there, and it has nothing to do like with some people being made different, like they're just different than me, like that book From Homeless to Harvard. We're all built the same. We all have the same mechanics in our brain, and this method works on basically everyone. I'm not gonna say everyone, because but for the most part, everyone. And we're all built the same. We all have control of our thoughts, but we are led to believe that we are weak and victims, and we're not. So there was some other things that I brought into the presentation yesterday that were really, really interesting about that, about how they will, have us think that we're weak. And there was it was a meme, just a meme, but it was like what to do with negative thoughts. And there were 5 things that were suggested. A couple of them, change it into a positive thought. Great. But it has to be believable. Because if it's not believable, then it's not going to work. It's just going to be superficial. Like the treatment that they provide out in the mental health industry is very superficial. So it goes hand in hand with that. The other was clean your house. Okay? Clean your house, scrub your floor, do something, just get your mind off of it. That's not right. That's not correct. You have to confront them. Yes, it may be painful, but I promise the pain only lasts for a couple seconds, and then as you use the method that I explained earlier to break it down properly, it dissipates, it goes away. So it for example, if you have anxiety, you don't just clean your house and they said put music on, zone out to the music. No, you don't. You confront it. So anxiety, you confront it. It feels worse for the first few seconds, and then as you're doing those 5 steps and you're breaking it down and you're being honest with yourself and you're finding out, well, what were my motivations? And maybe your motivations weren't good. You have to be, that's why I say be honest. And then you as you're breaking it down, it's going away. So thanks, Mom. She's texting me. You should be writing in the comments section. But anyway, that is it. So, how long did that last? Because yesterday it was an hour and 45 minutes, but I brought in a lot of other stuff to it. So, I'm uploading yesterday's to YouTube. Although, because I invited a lot of people, and they were supposed to be live on this presentation, and I couldn't figure out the technology for 2 hours. Then, when I finally did it, the whole presentation, it was too late. They were gone. They were probably off to doing whatever, but I was going to record it and give it to them a couple hours later. I realized I never hit the record button. So then, ironically, I'm doing this about stress, right? Because it was really stressful. So I then did it again. I did the presentation for the second time. And I realized when I shared my screen looked like jibber jab. So I did it again. And by that time I was exhausted. And it didn't come out as good as the first and the second time, but it's okay. Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks, Mom. Bye.